in case we need it. All right, we're all good? All right. Good evening. Thank you, everybody. I'm going to call this meeting to order, and we will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. All right. Agenda adjustment 1.3 is our next item up. We have an adjustment. Yeah. We got to add the budget, right? So 6.3, yeah, sounds good. 6.3 will be budget discussion. We can. Yeah. Is that the only other one? Yeah. So then we're going to move 7.1 to ahead of 6.1. Anything else? Okay. On to number 2.1, consideration of the minutes. Motion to approve the minutes of the May 28th, 2025 school board meeting. Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? All those opposed? All those abstaining? Due to being absent. Thank you. 3, petitions and communications. We do have a communication that was received via email. So that will be attached to the minutes for this evening for all of the board, and you all received it. So if you didn't read your email, that is where you will find a copy. All right, on to public comment. So this is where we invite the public to come up. You can come to the microphone and just say your name, state your name and the town where you live in. Mic check. Okay. All right, well, seeing none, we will move on to section 5.1. Oh, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. We can make that happen. We will need you to speak into the mic, though, so that everybody comes on the recording, and just state your name and the town you're from.
Got it.
Thank you.
This is in relation to, I think it's, my name is Joel Furrow, resident of Wales. Relation to section 6.1, to approve the second reading to remove the policy JB transgender and gender expansive students. I just wanted to speak in support of that for a couple reasons, and I wanted to read something that I think would be helpful. You may be aware of this, you may not be. Don't want to insult anyone's intelligence on this, but I think that there's actually something that could be a unifying factor in this particular issue that is obviously clearly divisive. I'm sure everyone in the room has a different opinion, and we'd all be happy to share them all or not listen to anybody else's on this issue, but here we are. The U.S. Constitution, Article 14, clearly, and SCOTUS has demonstrated this multiple times, I'm going to read a few areas on this, gives complete autonomy to the family specifically, not the state. And that's been demonstrated for well over 100 years in multiple cases. And I'm not an attorney, but it's pretty clearly obvious with simple searches, simple research on that. And I think it's worth just noting. The Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment provides that no state shall deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without the due process of law. And within this framework, the Supreme Court has firmly upheld the fundamental right of parents to make decisions concerning the care, custody, control of their children. That goes back, this is as recent as a court case in 2000. It goes further back, 1925, 1945. There's multiple cases. I could keep reading this, and we could be here for an evening, which I wouldn't mind doing because I think it could actually be very instructive. What's interesting about this to me is not that it amplifies my personal view, which is that this rule absolutely should be unequivocally, without hesitation, and is the only common sense approach, completely removed from all schools, including this RSU. But that if you disagree with my personal opinion on gender or sexuality, and you want to raise your child to believe and disagree with my personal opinion on that, you have every right and actual duty to do so under the U.S. Constitution. That right's protected, and as is mine, to raise our children in the same way. That's simple. That's basic. And to not adhere to that, for this RSU, for this board, to not adhere to the clear, obvious truth of that SCOTUS has actually rendered judgment, not necessarily on this rule, but on the idea of parental rights, is absolutely unwise at best, and just plain ignorant at worst, quite frankly. And I'm not mincing words here, just because it's just that obvious. If you don't respect the parental rights, you ultimately will open this RSU to potential lawsuits, and at some point, SCOTUS will side against you. It may not be this RSU, it may not be this school district, it may not be this case, it may not be a main case. It's going to be something, but it will be at some point that will happen. And so it's completely unwise on one end. The other side of it is that clearly siding to keep this rule in place is siding against the rule of the people. These particular issues are in our faces every day in the news. It's pretty obvious that those who side with keeping a rule like this in place are in the minority in the state. And it's an ideological battle that we're waging with our kids in the middle of it, which is kind of the worst thing parents and adults should be doing, is forcing our kids to shoulder the weight of an ideological battle instead of us actually just having some basic common sense approach to it. By removing this rule, you adhere to the Constitution, which simply allows every parent, regardless of their view, to have their sovereignty. And you don't infringe on that. You probably know this better than most. My mom was a teacher. Okay, you know this better than most if you're working in the school. All right, there's an erosion of trust with parents and schools, complete erosion happening constantly. That's true in these particular issues. It's also true because of the lack and failure of the education that they're receiving, and that's demonstrated. I think the most recent stats showed our fourth graders, 74% of them in the state couldn't read at their level. So there's an erosion of trust on the academic level. There's an erosion of trust in actually trust in the idea that you can have a relationship that's honest with a teacher. That your job is to build that trust up, not to take it down. That can be done regardless of your viewpoint on gender and sexuality. That can be accomplished simply by adhering to the Constitution. And our highest court in the land has already given you the opportunity to do so. It is common sense. It is simple. There is a path forward to this, and it starts with you actually being brave enough to recognize, not hand it back, because we already have it, hand back and recognize the sovereignty, the duty of a parent to raise their child in the way that they see fit. This includes every area of life. All of those cases, there's medical cases that have been demonstrated. It's all of those cases, all the way through, up and down, Supreme Court. You want to argue with them? You go for it. But you don't need to. So set aside your personal opinion and actually allow parents to do what they want to do. The last thing I'll say is this, in relation to trust, our family is a homeschool family. I have 3 daughters and a son. We homeschool. Our intention at some point was to have our kids come to middle school or high school, take advantage of the opportunities that this RSU has, which my wife took advantage of when she graduated here. All right? That was our intention. Rules like this demonstrate why we will continue to homeschool and demonstrate why it's one of the best decisions we've ever made. I don't trust you. I don't trust you at all with rules like this in place. Plain and simple. And from what I can tell, about 13% of the school district and that's an increase year over year, the last couple of years, it's increased by 1 or 1.5%, are homeschooling in this particular district. You should take that as a demonstration of a lack of trust. I would if I were you. It's rules like this that keep us there, and rules like this that make it plain and simple. We made a good decision. I encourage you, I'm begging you, just adhere to the Constitution. That's all you got to do. It's not that difficult. Remove this rule, be leaders in this community that you should be. You can hold on to your own personal viewpoints and still remove this rule. And there's other ways to solve the problems that I think, things that people hold on to when it comes to this, and they're concerned about particular students and gender dysphoria, I don't think those are invalid concerns. I don't. This is not a solution to those concerns. And you're foolish to consider it a solution. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else like to come up? All right. Thank you for, oh, okay. I'm sorry. It has, yeah.
I have to. So if I hold it, it's okay?
That's perfectly
All right.
fine. Yeah, it's
I
just
gotcha.
we have to have it for to pick up the recording.
Okay, no, that's completely fine.
Thank you.
No, that's completely fine.
Just say your name and town.
My name's Darren Brown. I'm from Wales, a resident of Wales. And I guess the only real reason that I'm standing up today is to just say, one, I respect each and every person's decision to say whatever they want, to be whoever they want. When it comes to gender, I have lesbian sister who I love dearly. She made the choice after school to be that. It was her choice, nobody else's. Nobody said that that's what you should do. Nobody directed her that way. It's just how it happened. My voice, as you can tell, is nervous about being up here. Mostly because I really just want to be angry and say I disapprove of it. And I'm angry over it. I'm disappointed in it. And I'm disappointed in the people in the room that don't see the real problem with it. I see, bad things coming from it. I see other mental health issues coming, which this town, all 3 towns, we're inundated with it already. Not because of, gender issues only, but this could potentially lead to other mental health issues as well. I have some dear friends that are involved with it, and it just doesn't look pretty to me. But I can honestly say I respect every single person and what they want to be. If you want to be transgender, I'm all for it. That's good for you. Don't make it part of me. Don't make it that I have to be giving you a special privilege. Just be who you want to be. It's really that simple for me. And I know that probably at a higher education level, it might not be that easy. But for me, it is. For me, it's you be who you want to be. You be who you want to be. I'll be who I want to be. I'm not going to bully you because of it. I'm not going to go beat you up at the flagpole because of it. Just be who you want to be. I have 21-year-old kids that were in school, 3 years ago? And I felt like we weren't even talking about this. And 3 years ago is not that far. And here we are today, and we got to talk about this right now. We got to make a change, and we got to do it through this policy. Policy's garbage. Shouldn't have been written, should be thrown away. And I guess that's all I got. So thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? We do appreciate you coming here and talking. I've been on that side. A lot of us have. It's not easy. So thank you. All right. Moving on to, you do have a report. We're moving on to, thank you, 5.1. We'll start with the superintendent's report. I heard a click.
Okay,
There you
now,
go.
all right. So wanted to give you an update because it's been very busy to write you my Friday update, and I apologize for that. But I do want to let you know, Libby Tozier, we have someone looking at the sewer line again. Remember when we had the pipe replaced that went into the school? Remember that happening this fall? So luckily, we got it fixed so that everything's running. We didn't have to close the school or anything. However, to be proactive, they're looking through the pipe, especially from the sewer to the leach field. And so they're coming. They're going to give us an estimate on that. And the good news is we can fix it before the new school year, so that it's all taken care of. So we really appreciate the vendors and stuff getting right on it and being able to open school, keep school open. So I just wanted to give you an update on that. Marco and I interviewed with Sheriff Sampson, a school resource deputy. And I don't think I'm at liberty to say his name right now because it's not official, but met a wonderful gentleman. He's going to be a great fit for us. So hopefully at the next meeting I'll be able to tell you who that is and make that announcement. He probably won't start till mid-August because he's going to go to the resource officer training, which is in August. But he's really looking forward to being part of the RSU community, working with students, working with families and staff. So we're excited about that. We are in the process with Director of Operations. We have had some wonderful candidates we're looking at, and so that process, we hope to have some candidate to bring to you at the next meeting. I do want to let people know because we didn't publish, it was the last day of school, so I didn't want to publish, have a great day, have a wonderful year, and the budget failed. Okay, so that slide did not go out. We'll prepare one for possibly going tomorrow, but I want to let people know that the communities did pass that referendums will continue. So that was 319 to 330. No, that was the vote. 374 to 269. Sabattis voted not to continue it, but the other two voted to, and the combination, the budget referendums will continue. So we really didn't say that out loud. And then, as you all know, the vote for the budget was 319 yes and 335 no. So split down the middle there. And then moving updates, there's a lot going on with Sabattis closure and grades moving around and staff moving around. And the theme is boxes, boxes, and more boxes. But staff are doing an amazing job getting things organized. Our custodial staff working really hard. And as you know, Samantha's been facilitating it. So I've asked her if she'd be prepared just to give you a little overview of where we are with all the process so that you have a good sense of that. So Samantha?
Yeah, so today was the last day of school. It was important to our whole team and everyone that was involved that we hold tight to kind of the sacredness of students being in session until they are out of the building. So some things have not been happening until tomorrow. So we will have, let's see, this week we have dumpsters on site for surplus pieces of equipment, things that are no longer being used beyond their usable life. We also have the copier company that is coming to move those the end of this week, and then we will have the movers on site from Sabattis to Carrie Ricker and Libby Tozier the third week of June, so the week of the 23rd. And then we also have, as Katie mentioned, our staff and our custodial staff starting moves between the Litchfield schools this week already. So classrooms that are empty and ready to welcome new teachers and classrooms and supplies, those are getting filled up already. Just huge kudos to the team and all of the coordination that's gone into what's already happened and what will continue to happen through the summer. And just huge shout out to the teachers and the staff working at Sabattis Primary and in both of the Litchfield schools that are having to move, and all the effort that they've put into that already and will continue to as they prepare for their big move. So other logistical pieces, you know, some of the utilities and services at Sabattis Primary will start to be phased out as we move a majority of supplies, equipment, and furniture out of that building towards the end of this month. And then we'll be looking to do our community yard sale in July, potentially early August. So we'll kind of keep you pinned on when that will be coming forward, but we'll make sure that we notify towns, we notify public, we notify other school districts and other resources and organizations in the community like Ruth's Reusables and things like that, that they are welcome to come and participate in that yard sale. Anything else I'm not thinking of, Katie? Yeah, so again, just huge shout out to the team and all of the effort that's already gone underway, and NJ and her team taking some time out of their super busy, schedule for the move to spend some time with students, which I know is going to be talked about today, but just that was a breath of fresh air, I think, for her team and herself, but just lots and lots of work going on in all of the departments across the district.
All right, thank you. Okay, moving on, 5.3. Administrators' reports, Jan LaValle, Libby Tozier.
She had an emergency, so she's not going to be here tonight.
Okay. Cherie Poole, Sabattis Primary.
Yeah, and we have Jenny. Jenny, I think, are you doing that? Are you doing Sabattis Prime? Yeah, okay. Yeah, then Jenny will come up.
So you're doing Sabattis Primary?
She's doing Sabattis
All
Primary.
right.
Just use your imagination. Picture Cherie.
Yeah.
So there's some prepared remarks, and I think we have a few photos that go along with the last month or so of school. So at Sabattis Primary, teachers and students were busy all the way up until the last second that the last bus and car drove away today. The past few weeks have been filled with student celebrations that have lasted a month long. There was camping in Miss Passant's classroom, table drawings with Miss Lopes, a visit from a world-renowned juggler, and a magician who turned a dove into a rabbit. They ventured beyond our school walls on field trips to the Monmouth Theater and Maine Wildlife Park, and 4 lucky students were surprised with brand new bikes donated by the local Masons Lodge. Field day brought laughter, teamwork, and lots of sunshine. One of our biggest highlights was our Tech Day, an incredible experience led by NJ and her team. Thank you to all who made this hands-on event possible. Students dove into a full day of STEM activities exploring everything from flying orbs, 2 of which are now permanent gym ceiling fixtures, to robot mice and Indy cars provided through our MLTI grant. They especially loved using the stop-motion app to create short films. Their imagination was on full display, and just wait until you see the Play-Doh lemon with the big yellow eyes. Was there a picture of the Play-Doh lemon? Did I miss it? Well, I can tell you firsthand, and NJ can, and Diane can. Those are the most difficult to open Play-Doh containers ever. So I chipped a few nails. NJ has blood blisters. A teacher has a blood blister, but we got them all open for the kids so they could participate in that. Special thanks to our SPS team for curating materials, our tech team for planning the event, Allison for managing a mountain of tiny Play-Doh containers, and to our own Vice Chair Diane Whalen and retired techie Tom Pelletier for joining us and helping the day run seamlessly. We closed out the year today with bounce houses and snow cones, a fitting end to a year full of joy, resilience, creativity, and growth. Thank you for your continued support of Sabatis Primary. We are so proud of our students and wish everyone a safe, restful, and happy summer.
Great, thank you, Sam. And Jenny Hudner, Carrie Ricker.
Hello. So, spring has been very busy at Carrie Ricker. Staff finished up their writing, reading, and math units. Between informational and opinion writing, animal research projects, and main day projects, the classrooms were busy researching, creating, and writing. Spring testing was also ended this year with reading benchmarks, math units, and NWEA testing. Along with all this, spring field trips kept students engaged in activities that brought classroom learning to life. Fourth graders visited the Maine State House and the Blaine House. They went to Mr. Drew's and had the final of their Friends of Cobussy watershed visits to the school, while the third graders completed their second visit to Smithville Plantation. We had 2 step-up days, one with first graders and the second with second graders, who will all be calling Carrie Ricker home next year. Students had a great time at Field Day last week, where they participated in a variety of team building and competitive activities. A special thanks to Ms. Gilly and all the volunteers for help in making this a great day. We had also classes participated in Math Field Day. Thank you to Deb Witham and her volunteers for making math fun and engaging for our students. This year was the first time I got to see what Main Day was like at Carrie Ricker, and I was very impressed. Students in 4th grade first researched a main topic for informational writing, then created floats. These were presented in front of the entire grade level to 3 judges, who were Katie Grondin, our superintendent, Dr. Andrew Beaupre, curator of archaeology at the Maine State Museum, and Dr. Tina Daigle of UMaine Augusta. The presentation in the morning included 3 did you know statements about their topic. In the afternoon, students and parents came to see everyone's floats and parade for the 3rd graders. Our last student day today included a end-of-year assembly where we said goodbye to our 4th graders. Also, at the assembly, we gave away 19 bicycles donated by the Masons of Morningstar Lodge for their Books to Bikes program. 3rd and 4th grade students were selected to receive the bikes because of the great strides they made in reading this year.
Great, thank you. Michaela Stevens and Brian Daniels, Oak Hill Middle School.
Good evening, everyone. This year, students in the GT ELA program with Ms. Cody participated in the National History Day competition. They had 8 students in grade 7th and 8th who competed at the regionals, and 2 students qualified for the state competition, where both did very well. Ryder Staples received an additional award where he was the first place winner in the junior division for the Labor History Special Prize for his exhibit on the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory Fire. He won 5 different pieces to that award, including a monumental award, an entire published books from Dr. Charles Scontras covering Maine's labor history from 1636 to present era, recognition on the Bureau of Labor Education website, along with an award letter and a certificate of the award from the Maine State AFL-CIO. These students worked hard on this research project that required 15 to 20 resources and a final product, such as an exhibit or a documentary. It additionally included an interview with judges with expertise in history. We did a lot, as you can see. We had an incredible end to the year filled with exciting events across all grade levels. The weather was absolutely perfect, giving us plenty of opportunities for outdoor learning and celebrations. We had visits from Oak Hill High School students who performed for us, and one of the biggest highlights was watching our former students walk through the halls as graduates. It was a full circle moment. Our students went on several field trips to wrap up the year, including ACES Day, which was thoughtfully planned and scheduled by Mr. Stanley. The kids had an absolute blast all day long. We also enjoyed our final school assembly, trips to the botanical gardens, bowling outings, and of course, our famous Student of the Month field trip. It's been a wonderful year celebrating all of our students and staff's growth, hard work, and accomplishments with these memorable events. It was the perfect way to end it. And then to our 8th graders, we had such a special send-off for the end of the year. And yes, they officially claimed the final Spirit Stick win and are the 2024-2025 Ultimate Spirit Stick Champions, which they're very proud of. Their final dance was beautifully decorated with tons of thoughtful touches and delicious treats donated and made by our amazing families. The students felt truly glamorous and celebrated. A huge thank you to all the volunteers who helped to bring this event to life. They also had the unforgettable trip to Canopy. I always do it, and then Brian corrects me. Canopy Lake Park, traveling in style in the charter buses. The weather held out just right to make the day a huge success, thankfully. To top it off, they enjoyed snow cones from a special truck brought in using leftover fundraising money and an extra cool treat on a particularly hot day. A special thank you to our 8th grade advisor, Tracy Remington, for all her hard work and dedication in making this a memorable experience for our students. And thank you as well to our 8th grade parents for all of their support throughout the year. And of course, to our incredible 8th grade class, thank you for an amazing year. You've been a fantastic group, and we can't wait to see all the incredible things you accomplish at Oak Hill High School. They really are phenomenal, and we will miss them dearly. I also want to thank Beth Peffer for her years of service and wish her a happy retirement. And I do want to thank all of our staff and students for an incredible 24-25 school year and being a part of our Oak Hill Middle School community.
All right, and good evening, everyone. I just wanted to take a quick second just to highlight some athletics at Oak Hill Middle School. Our spring sports seasons, baseball and softball did not quite make playoffs this year, but they had a great season. They were able to end it with lots of fun. Some parents brought in food and had like a little barbecue or potluck per se, and they played games and were able to wrap up the season on a positive note. But also just kind of wanted to highlight some of the participation numbers over the course of the year. So these numbers have been pretty consistent over the last couple of years, which has been good. We're averaging roughly 25 students per sport, except in the spring you can see it's not quite the same, but that's because of that co-op with track and field for Lisbon. The real hurdle there is getting transportation to get students there. So it looks like it's lower, but that's just really because of the circumstances of that arrangement with Lisbon. So thank you very much.
All right, thank you. And Marco Aliberti and Sue Rennie, Oak Hill High School. Oh,
It's okay.
I was
No worries.
reading.
It's Director of Guidance, Melissa Gagnon. Right, Mel? Yep. All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. So nice to see you all. And really, our presentation is all about graduation. So I'm going to turn it over to Mel to talk a little bit about the scholarships that are offered at the high school, and then I'll take it over to talk a little bit about one special scholarship that we want to make sure that we talk a little bit about the history, and then a name change and some special recognition that goes along with it.
Great. So there's 2 pages of scholarships listed here. These are what we refer to as the local scholarships. So there's an application for that students, seniors all get, and we mail it home to their parents also. And we have to hound them a little bit to fill it out, but this is local area money, and some of them are also within the community that students find, like Lisbon Credit Union, Franco-American Foundation, within the greater Androscoggin and even Kennebec County area that students can apply for. And I believe on the bottom of that next page, on Friday night, we awarded $131,425 in scholarships. So it was really, really great to be able to give that money. And that's on top of the free tuition that many of these students are taking advantage of at the community colleges. So this will really help support the room and board, tools, books, fees, things along those lines also. And then I'm going to pass it to Marco to talk about one scholarship in particular.
Thanks, Mel. So just want to bring your attention to the very bottom of this page, the Oak Hill High School scholarship. And so that's a scholarship that, I've had the pleasure of handing out in my tenure at the high school. It's money that we have that was set aside by Robert Pelletier, who it was the first ever principal at Oak Hill High School. And there's a little write-up there about Mr. Pelletier and the work that he's done. But essentially what came down to our thoughts around the scholarship, we would always call it the Oak Hill High School Scholarship. And Mr. Pelletier came in to visit me this year. I had never met the man. He came in, he had a stack of, photos and all kinds of like press clippings and stuff to talk to me about. And it was awesome. And at the time, I think he was 89 years old. And I was just blown away. It was really great to see somebody, come back to the school, have such pride in the work that he did while he was at the high school and in the district itself, come back in and talk to me. So kind of time went on throughout the school year. We got to, obviously scholarship season, and one of our school counselors, Aaron Cloutier, whose parents also worked at the high school at one point in time, we were trying to figure out, all right, how did this get started and who started it? And just so happened it was Bob Pelletier. And so he was savvy enough to take bottle return money and things of that nature that he had his hands on, when he first started, and invest that money. And basically it's in our hands to then, divvy it up amongst our graduates. And in special recognition of the Oak Hill High School, or of his work, we changed the name from the Oak Hill High School Scholarship to the Robert G. Pelletier Scholarship, which was quite a moving scene, because we invited Mr. Pelletier to come in on class night. He is now 90 years old with his family, and it was a really touching moment to be able to read a nice statement in regards to all of his hard work and efforts to support our kids. And then our graduates, without any prompting, went over and shook his hand and thanked him. So everybody that received that scholarship went over and thanked him personally, which was also a nice moment. So I just want to make sure that, you guys are aware, that that's there. And actually we were contacted from this event by somebody else who wants to start a scholarship at the school. So obviously that recognition is something that is, what's the word I'm looking for? Contagious, which is really nice. So we really appreciate his efforts. He's watching from his home in Winthrop of all the wonderful things that Oak Hill High School is doing. So I appreciate all of that. And then we were going to talk a little bit about graduation itself. That was held last Saturday night at the Augusta Civic Center. And Mel's going to talk a little bit about the percentages of students and kind of where they're at.
So Robbie, I know you had asked me a few weeks ago if we could have this information, so I asked if I could jump on Marco's presentation tonight. So as you can see, of our 86 graduates, 40% are going on to a two-year college. 4-year colleges, 25%. We have 2% going into the military and 33% into employment. And I really feel that 2-year college number, that bubble's really high, especially this year. Right as of right now, this is the last year, the last graduating class that has the advantage of, can take advantage of the free tuition at the community colleges. We'll see what happens with that going forward, but many of them start there and then transfer to a 4-year program. So seeing those numbers quite high as far as that goes. And then the next screen this is a list of some of the schools that they have indicated that they plan to attend. So I just listed each school once, but Central Maine Community College was listed numerous times, and Southern Maine Community College has also become very popular as of late with our students, just given that they can get away, they can be at a community college and take advantage of that, but live on the campus there in South Portland. So that's also become quite popular. So there's a list of where some of our kids plan to go, as reported by them in their senior exit survey. I know things change over the summer. Also, I find a lot that some come back in the fall or over the course of the year and say, I didn't go, but now I want to go, and can you help me? And so we get a lot of students who still come back, and Erin and I always extend that, like, come back and see us. It doesn't matter if you graduated a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago. Come back. We'll help you figure out how to get there if that's what you want to do. So that's pretty much it for me.
Oh, and that's it for my presentation, our presentation. So thank you very much. Oh, go ahead, Matt.
Sorry, I just want to congratulate the students on the scholarship awards. I also had a question for the students that are going into employment, whether it be in the trades or even some that are going into the military. Is there opportunity out there for them to, whether it's a grant, obviously it's not going to be a scholarship, but to help with like tools or equipment or, military, just money to carry with them?
Yeah. So, we can. We're fortunate enough. Again, those Oak Hill High School scholarships can be used for that purpose, right? So the Bob Pelletier scholarship, Matt, can be used for that, and we do use it. It's not just the students that are college bound, right? The other aspect of that is, or just number wise, we gave out 11 of those scholarships at $1,000 a piece. So it's not small, it's a significant amount of money, maybe not so much with buying tools, but it's something to help them get going. Sure. Absolutely. And then I was thinking maybe like not Job Corps, nope, not JMG. Help me, Mel. What am I thinking about? You don't know what I'm thinking. Voc Rehab. Yeah. Thank you, Christy. So vocational rehab is another program that students can tap into for that same purpose. Again, for job training, tools, any equipment, work boots, all kinds of stuff, Matt. Yeah, no problem.
Also, in the fall, we took all of our students to the Crooker Construction Fair over in West Bath. So there were a lot of apprentice opportunities, connection with local businesses, and LRTC is doing a program this summer, and even seniors who are leaving, I think the age still works for them. There's a program there where they can do like a 4-week apprentice program and be paid, and they get tools and materials as well. So we advertise that to all of our students, and we have a couple of them participating. Yeah.
All right, thank you. And we have Aspen Gothier with our student rep report for her last time.
It is not my last time. Last time this year. But, yeah, Lily's not here today. She's graduated. She's gone. Whatever. Yeah, let's hope. So sports have been going very well this season, spring sports. I hear girls lacrosse won their last game 13-5. And the senior games for... I know softball did very well for their senior game, and it's just very sweet to watch always. Oak Hill Legislative Assembly, or HLA, is already planning for next year's homecoming, scheduling summer sessions for that. JMG had their closing ceremony last week, during which they honored the leaving seniors and listened to speeches from members and staff. They also helped out in the field day in Sabatis, contributing to the fun experience and further connecting the community. Like Mr. Alberti mentioned, all the senior events, including graduation, went very well. Like every year, everyone involved worked very hard to see these events happen, and from a student perspective, it's always very nice to watch. Very sad and bittersweet, but fun. I don't know if Lily talked about prom last time, because I was not there for our last student thing, but prom was very successful. Our venue was in Great New Gloucester, and it was very beautiful despite the rain. National Honor Society had their induction ceremony to install their new members. Academic Decathlon that's where I was the last time, competed at nationals in Iowa, and although our division was changed this year, we brought home 6 individual medals. I also want to say that just today, Rocco Mastriano landed the position of the junior school board representative for next year, so we're very excited to welcome him into the meetings and hear his perspective on student life. I also don't know if Lily mentioned this in the last student report, but as we close the school year, I feel that it's important to mention that the students are still mourning and honoring the student death in our community. Isaac was a very well-loved and important student, and it has been so bittersweet to see all of Oak Hill's community come together to support each other in such an unimaginable way. Finally, I want to thank Ms. Grondin for the work that she has done as our superintendent, and especially Mr. Alberti for all the work that he's done as Oak Hill High School's principal. He's had such a positive influence on every single student and staff member and has created some very big shoes to fill. We'll miss your presence in the hallways and directing traffic after school, and we wish you all the luck in your new position and all the luck in your retirement. And that's it for my report today.
Thank you. I didn't realize you were still with us next year, so good to know. Good to know. All right. So now we're going to move on to 7.1, which we moved to our agenda adjustment earlier tonight, to approve a motion to elect Joelle Jackson as a multilingual learning teacher throughout the District of Regional School Unit 4, number 4, as recommended by the superintendent.
So moved.
Diane, we have her in the audience this evening. She usually invites, yeah. Diane usually has a question for all of our incoming faculty. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, keeping up the tradition.
Just making sure this is working.
I'm just keeping a tradition alive that somebody on the school board used to do all the time. Oh, what brings you to RSU4?
I currently work in Lewiston, and I wanted to come to a rural district and also to have a smaller caseload and to bring my skills as a multilingual learner teacher here, because I understand that it's a fledgling, I don't want to say, I guess, department that's coming together, and I'm excited by that opportunity.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Thank you.
We're glad to have
Thank you for coming. Glad to have you.
We usually try to limit it to the one question, but if anybody else has one. All right.
I'm good? Okay. Well, thank
Thank
you, everyone.
you.
I'm very excited to be here.
Any discussion? All those,
High school? Everywhere.
well,
Everywhere. Okay.
Department of One, she said, right? Any, no further discussion? Call for the vote. All those in favor? It's unanimous. Okay, now to our old business, 6.1, to approve the second reading to remove policy JB, transgender and gender expansive students.
So moved.
Discussion. And I'm going to ask two things. We're going to keep it chill, right? That's the first one. And the second one is try to just limit your time. I'm not going to put a time limit on you, but try to limit your time. And if you're going to come back to the mic, make sure that you're not repeating things. But that's all I asked tonight. And were you going to raise your hand first, Scott?
I can go first.
I thought I saw your hand going up.
No,
I'm
but
totally not putting you on the spot here.
it's fine.
I leave it to the floor.
So, I think first I wanted to start by addressing the letter that we received that's going to be entered into minutes, because I feel like it was an emotionally driven response, and as far as voting is concerned, I think that may weigh on how people are going to vote. So when I read that, I kind of did a little bit of research, and so I just wanted to say that this idea of transgender identifying students that commit suicide at a higher rate. The study that I found it came from the National Transgender Discrimination Survey, which said that made a claim that 41% of the respondents said they had attempted suicide at some point in their lives. But it should be noted that that study is sort of like a biased study. It took a sample, a specific sample, and it wasn't like a more broad study. It wasn't like an open study. It was a very closed study that was done, and that's the one that's most often referenced. I also found that there's other groups that are equally have a higher propensity for this, like children from veterans, children that are suffering from childhood obesity, these sort of things. We don't have any policy for those kids. You know, this is a singled out policy, and I really feel like if we're going to make a policy, it should be a broad policy that covers everybody and protects all students and staff, not just a singleized group. And I kind of think that that's the reason why policy JB is not a legally required policy. I think they know that because the other policies that we have in place, which you can find in the back of the policy, I'm not going to name them all because you guys are familiar with them, but you know, they cover things like bullying, harassment, discrimination, records keeping, essentially everything, most everything that's in the transgender policy is covered by other policies. It's not something that we need because we already have these other policies in place. The other piece I wanted to talk about was one of the public comments referred to the 14th Amendment, the due process clause. I know you guys have heard me mention it before, the parental rights piece. But I'm kind of curious to know who determined with this policy. It just doesn't specify a lot of information, and I mentioned that at the last meeting. There's so many holes. It doesn't specify who determines by which metrics and evidence not to tell parents about a gender plan. There's no measurement in that. We don't even know who to determine that. You know, to validate, I guess, someone's gender choice. It's not written in the policy. If you decide not to tell parents because you feel like there may be harm coming to a child, as mandatory reporters, how come that's not being reported? That's not even a piece of this policy as well. I have so much information here, and it's like mixed all over the place. But,
Should have said there would be a time limit for Scott.
yeah, it's true.
Just kidding.
Thanks. I did want to mention. So yeah, the 14th Amendment due process clause. You guys, we all took an oath to the Constitution. So remember that when you're making this vote, because there are several pieces to this policy that do violate the Constitution. Not just the 14th Amendment due process clause, but also First Amendment. I talked about that at the last meeting too, free speech, where the verbiage here specifically says, students and staff shall, which is a pretty strict word, shall refer to student by their preferred name and pronouns. Well, and the policy just doesn't. You're violating somebody's First Amendment right, first off, but then the policy doesn't outline any consequences. So what happens if you slip and you misgender somebody? What happens if you? I just think that there's a better way of going about this. We can come up with a much better policy. There's policies out there that we could model. There's guidelines that we could create to put in the handbook. There's things that we can do to address it, but this policy just isn't that. And as you know, the policy committee was in process of reviewing this, and I think we would probably end up coming to a determination that it should just be removed. Because when you have a policy that gives extra protections for one group of students, but it ends up hurting another group of students, that's not the way we operate here. I just want to remind everybody of that. And that's pretty much it. I mean, I have a bunch more, and maybe I'll respond back to some other comments.
All right, thanks, Scott. Christy.
Thank you. I'd like to make an amendment to the motion. I truly believe that we should send this policy back to the policy committee to do exactly what Scott has said, to be able to revise it to better fit the needs of the district. And I think that should be the first agenda on the policy committee's agenda, which is what we talked about 2 meetings ago.
Do I have a second?
Second.
In order to approve the motion to move the policy to policy and personnel committee, I need a 2/3 vote. Any discussion on the motion to amend? Who was first? Robbie? Robbie, then Nancy, then Scott?
Sure.
Okay, thanks. When you guys raise your hands from now on, do the number. I can't
Yeah,
see you all.
buzzer.
There you
Yeah,
go.
there you
Can't
go.
see you all the time. Go ahead, Robbie.
I'm not here to defend the policy. I'm here to defend the process. And the process is, we've done this in the past. If there's problems with, well, when the board members have problems with policies, they go back to the policy committee, they get looked at, get discussed there, modified and brought back to the committee to have a larger discussion. That's what I'm defending. I'm defending the process. This idea of just coming in on the day of the meeting, not even an item on the agenda, and taking a vote to kill the policy, and then finding out that we have to come back for a second reading. You know what I mean? It's sort of like we're jumping through our own procedures. That's what I'm defending. I'm defending the process. I would like a policy committee to send it back. We'll send it back, take it out of the policy book, send it back, let the policy committee look at it, discuss what we want and don't want in this policy, because I believe there are things that we could do without, but I think that's the discussion we should be having.
Okay, thank you, Robbie. Nancy? Yeah, you might need to turn it on.
My question is, if we send it back and it gets modified, does that mean it becomes a whole different policy?
So Christy's shaking her head no, but I don't
And I know, Scott, you sit on the policy committee. So what they would do is they would talk about what the recommendation should be to the board. That's where they do a lot of the debating, discussing. So if they revised it, the revision would come back. They could replace it. They could recommend to remove it. They could do a variety of things at that level. They come here and then they recommend, this is what the committee's recommending. So there are 3 board members that sit on that committee. I know it's.
So what I believe I heard before is that this policy is not, or is used by other school boards. Is that correct?
So when the committee looked at it, we talked, I reached out to Drummond Woodson about what is their latest policy and looking at main school management. And so our policy is in line with Portland's policy. So they looked at the Drummond is more in the middle. I think, well, when we talked at the committee, that's what we talked about, is there were things that were concerning in ours that are different in the Drummond Woodsum. We also talked about guidelines. We also talked about that. So it had begun to discuss it, and then the board at that time said, the policy, that would be our first agenda of the school year. That would be the first policy on the agenda for the next school year.
For the committee.
For the committee. Yeah.
So, just real quick, Christy, at the last meeting, part of the reason why I seconded this motion, I got to thinking about it, and if we remove it, this allows the policy committee, personnel and policy committee, to hit the ground running at the beginning of the school year and do some real work to get this in place rather than modifying something. And we can start right from scratch and develop something new. I would rather start the school year with nothing, because JB exposes the district to liability under Title IX, which is now being interpreted to prohibit allowing male athletes into girls' sports teams and into their locker rooms, which is a privacy violation. So, there's been some changes with Title IX. The current policy also, where it relates to the sports with the Principals Association, is not even accurate anymore, because the Maine Principals Association has changed their stance completely and their policy is different. So this one doesn't even line up with that. So it was more or less like, let's just scrap this all together and start fresh. And I appreciate what you said, Bob, too, about, I'm a big law and order rule kind of guy, and I like what you said, but in this circumstance, this policy probably never should have been adopted in the beginning with the language that's in it. And the board originally never had this through a policy committee that I'm aware of. This was something that was brought to us by the superintendent. Yeah, well, the fact that it passed with this language is pretty frightening. So I just feel like we should just get rid of it, start fresh with some guidelines, or adopt the Drummond policy or some variation form of it. I've been reading up. There's like the Yarmouth policy I heard is really good. So I think I would rather just start fresh, and rather than potentially opening ourselves up to some issues.
Sure. Yes, I just want to make sure we stick to the motion at hand, right? The which is where you were, but I just want to make sure we're staying on track here.
So I think
to amend.
Taking the policy out of this and thinking about precedent, if we make this determination to be able to come and add a agenda item to remove a policy, that means every single policy is up for that sort of removal. And I'm very concerned, like Robbie said, about the procedure of how we develop policies in our district.
Okay.
Just real quick, there's lots of policies you can't just remove by law. So
Go ahead, Matt.
First thing, as far as I know, or as far as I understand, Robert's Rules does allow for that motion to be made and for that to happen, and I believe that's the
Is your mic
procedure that
on?
we follow. What's that?
Sorry to interrupt you, but is your mic on?
Can you hear me?
Now we
I'm
can.
not close enough.
Thank you.
Problem is if I
Remember,
pull
you
it-
guys gotta be friends with these mics.
If I pull it down, it drops.
Yeah.
So. I put my thoughts on paper because otherwise I wouldn't be able to remember everything I wanted to say. So my reasoning for the motion to remove this policy is that it has specific language that, as a parent, concerns me regarding the ability to withhold information from parents and or guardians, creates uncomfortable, potentially unsafe environments in designated safe spaces, and leaves the school district vulnerable to liability or legal action. This policy is also not required by state or federal law or state or federal departments of education. But I also want to make clear that all of the protections offered to students under this policy are covered by policies already in place that protect all students. And I would like to take a moment to go through some of those policies.
Can I interject?
Sure.
Matt, I'm sorry. I really don't like doing this. This is the motion to amend.
Well, I think the question about that Christy raised was
To send it to policy committee.
No,
Are you getting to that?
I understand, but she made a comment about getting rid of this and leaving it open. The policies AC, ACAA, ACAAR all cover what
So
would be-
because of that, you don't agree with the amendment? Is that like?
Yes,
Like I want to make sure you're focusing on the amendment to send it to the committee before.
I can
support or against removal. And it's a hard line to draw. I want to make sure that we're kind of.
I was saving this.
And I really
for
didn't want to
after.
interrupt you. I'm sorry. I don't want to interrupt anybody, but
I
we
was,
gotta do
I was saving it
the-
for after, but I think there's information in here that went directly to the amendment. So
Okay.
Yeah, because the amendment either is going to go or not go. And
Right,
then you
and
get
then we're
to
going to go
the-
back to the
yes.
main motion.
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure, okay.
So, in terms of the amendment, I'll summarize that the non-discrimination, equal opportunity, and affirmative action protections, the harassment and sexual harassment of students, the student discrimination, harassment, and Title IX sexual harassment complaint procedure, all will still apply.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else on sending it back to committee as our current motion on the floor? I have a similar comment regarding following process and policy. I'm very strict on that. I don't put it into practice a lot, but that's what I'm still learning, and I try. And I do go back and I reread them and I study them. And Matt's correct. Robert's rules does allow that, and just to do the amendment, just because of the process that we have, that's not our policy. We do have a personnel and policy committee, but there are two policies that talk about how to bring a policy forward, and it doesn't say that you have to go through policy committee. I know that that's a respectful precedent or practice, but I don't know that it's necessarily required based on those two policies we have. Anybody else? I don't want to just always steal the last. Okay. We are going to vote on the motion to amend to send the policy back to committee. All those in favor? All those opposed? I'm sorry. Can you say that a little bit louder? I can't really hear over the air conditioner.
4 was 597 against 404, so that's a 59.64% vote, so not 2/3.
Okay, so it fails. So the motion to amend to send it back to committee has failed, and we will revert back to the main motion on to whether or not to remove the policy. The floor is still open.
Can we do a secret ballot for this?
Yeah, I mean, we can, no, you know what? So, no. So yeah, I thought we could, but this is where I was just recalling our policy. So, I appreciate you stopping me. No, that's okay. But we do have a board policy that does say that we should not be voting in secret. Because what made me think of it when I read that policy was we do that for our chair votes. But we might be able to vote to do it. I have to pull up the policy. I do. But it does, I don't know that it prohibits, but I'm looked that up. I don't think it's appropriate based on our policy. Go ahead, Robbie. I'm going to look that up.
So I know the amendment took a 2/3 vote to pass. Does the motion have to have a 2/3? Is it a majority?
Motion is majority, regular standing process.
Okay, thank you.
So anybody else have anything to say?
I have a question.
Hold on, I turned my mouse off.
Should it not pass, does that mean it will go back to the policy committee in the fall?
I mean, it's already kind of with the policy committee, so yes, it would.
So it still could go back to that to be changed?
It could, even if it's removed.
Okay.
Yes, just turn your mic on. Somebody else looking up our policy about, I know we have one about voting secret ballot. Not allowed.
Okay.
Thank you. I didn't recall the actual language. Yeah. Yeah, just give me a minute. I can't talk and look for things on my computer at the same time. I'm like, seriously. We can recess for 5 minutes. Yeah, go for it. I really can't do it at the same time.
So my question is to,
You're not on. Yeah, your mic's not cooperating tonight.
all right, so my question is to all of you that were concerned about following policy. If we set that issue aside and we actually think about what the policy states and what we should do, do you have a concern about actually eliminating that policy? Is your only concern about the process?
Anybody wanting to answer? Chew on the answer? Oh, Robbie's going to do it because I was going to.
I will.
Go ahead.
I'm concerned about the process, but there's also parts of that policy that needs to be looked at in my mind, and I agree.
Yes.
You know, that we should look at the policy, but just killing the whole policy may not be the solution to the problem. You know, and I have been here long enough to know that we've dealt with these situations before, and the administration, our administrators have, you know, kept us informed of the things that, you know, that we work through. So consequently, I would rather follow the process and let the policy go back to the policy committee where it was to start with, and then go through those things and discuss the bullet points in the policy. But just to kill the whole policy, I'm not sure is the right way to go.
Okay, go ahead, Matt. If you switched with Nancy, it's not going to work.
Sorry. Okay, so in terms of killing the policy, Robbie, we can eliminate this policy today, and when the policy committee reconvenes in August, they can format a new policy, right? That addresses or removes all of the concerns within this policy.
You're going to do that anyway, if the policy committee looks at it and comes back and we discuss it.
Well, then, all right, so I will go through.
I guess, Matt, my question would be to you, is it just the idea of killing the whole policy, just like Nancy asked us? Are we more concerned with the process of the policy? Are you just more concerned with killing the whole policy and walking away and leaving?
There isn't a single part of this policy that doesn't concern me in terms of putting us in a legally risky position. That undermines the rights of other students. So some examples of that would be, make sure I'm on the right page here. So parental rights were brought up. That would be Section D, Paragraph 1. I'm sorry. Give me just a minute here. Section D, Paragraph 1. Privacy and confidentiality. The district shall ensure that student records shall be kept confidential in accordance with the applicable state, local, and federal privacy laws. School staff shall comply with the student's wishes regarding disclosure of their transgender status to others, including but not limited to parents, guardians, students, volunteers, or other school staff, unless the student has explicitly authorized the disclosure or unless legally required to do so. The next piece would be, I'm sorry, to finish my thought on that. Constitutional parental rights refers to the fundamental rights of parents to direct the upbringing, education, and care of their children, as recognized and protected by the U.S. Constitution. These rights are considered inherent and pre-exist government authority, stemming from the natural relationship between parents and their children. The Supreme Court has affirmed these rights in various cases, recognizing them as essential to the concept of ordered liberty. The Supreme Court has recognized parental rights as fundamental rights protected by the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment. This clause prohibits the government from depriving individuals of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. The Supreme Court has interpreted this to include the right of parents to make decisions about their children's upbringing and education by permitting and protecting through policy their by permitting and protecting through policy the withholding of information or keeping of secrets from parents regarding their children. The RSU is in direct violation of the Supreme Court and the Constitution of the United States. Section D, paragraph 2, school records. Schools are required to maintain a permanent record for each student, which includes legal name and sex. This information is also required for standardized tests and official school district reports. A student's official record shall bear their legal name, which may be changed only upon proof that it has been changed pursuant to a court order. At the request of a student, and consistent with the student's gender identity, the district shall use the student's preferred name and pronouns consistent with their gender identity on all other documents, including but not limited to school identification, classroom rosters, certificates, diplomas, and yearbook. And this goes directly against FERPA, which is the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, is a federal law that affords parents the right to have access to their children's education records, the right to seek and have the records amended, and the right to have some control over the disclosure of personally identifiable information from the education records. When a student turns 18 years old or enters post-secondary institution at any age, the rights under FERPA transfer from the parents to the student. Section D, paragraph 4, restrooms, locker rooms, and other gender-segregated facilities. Restrooms, locker rooms, and other gender-segregated facilities, students shall be permitted to use restrooms, locker rooms, and changing facilities corresponding to the gender identity which the student asserts at school. The district will provide reasonable alternative facilities such as a separate stall or a staff facility in accordance with a student preference for greater privacy. A student shall not be required to use a separate non-communal facility over their objection. This policy changes facilities segregated by sex as described in this board's adopted definitions to facilities segregated by gender identity. I'm not aware of a vote that was taken to make such a change in distinction between male or boys and girls, men's and ladies' bathrooms being of sex to now being of gender identity. A bathroom, locker room, or changing room with a specific segregation notation is supposed to be a safe, protected place for the individual that space has been designated. Furthermore, by requiring the student using the appropriate designated space that has now been made uncomfortable in this safe space, to have to request a more private space prioritizes the student invading that space over the former. So almost every single one of these lines has an issue with the Constitution, with FERPA, right to privacy, and as I stated during the amendment portion, by removing this policy, no student, regardless of identification, gender, sex, loses any protections under the policies that we already have in place. Again, that's ACAA. AC is non-discrimination, equal opportunity, and affirmative action, which specifically talks about discrimination against and harassment of students because of race, color, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, religion, ancestry, or national origin, or disability are prohibited. ACAA, harassment and sexual harassment of students, same thing. Same protections provided to all students. JICK, bullying and cyberbullying prevention in schools. JIC also is the Student Code of Conduct, which has standards for ethical and responsible behavior, all laid out in the policy, general behavior and expectations and discipline policies for any student who violates any of these other policies. So there is no danger to any student or any staff member by removing the policy. And if it needs to be determined when the policy board reconvenes in August that we need to adopt a new policy, we can start with a clean slate.
Okay, thank you, Matt. I know it was weird to raise my hand, but I don't want to lose my spot. Christy, I have a question for you. As the chair of the policy committee, and you may not have these statistics, but if you could just give me your best estimate.
Sure.
How long does it take for a policy to go through committee, come to the board?
So I think what's important to know is that we have policies on our books that are 25 to 20 years old. There is a list that we look at every single year to revamp, and it could be as quick as 2 months. It could be, it could be 2 weeks. But in order for it to come to the board, it needs to sit in committee first to be talked about and for us to get recommendations. And then we usually give you a heads up that it's coming. And then in the next agenda, it comes in your packet, and then it goes for a first reading, and then it goes for a second reading. So if you were to have me, and we have to also recognize that we don't determine who's on the policy committee until after our annual
our
meeting.
first meeting. Mhm.
So in best case scenario, a new policy that would go into effect could be the second meeting in October.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of my concern.
Yes.
You know, that it does take a while. And I did see your hand go up, Scott. It does take a while to go through policy, and I don't really talk much about a lot of things here. I do kind of let you guys talk, and last meeting I didn't want to say much and didn't say much. I mean, my main concern is it is not required. That's my main concern. Well, I don't know that that's my main concern. So I have two main concerns, if they could both be equally main. I hear a lot of concern about the child or the student, right, that's being protected. And I think that's subjective, right? Because if you have to sacrifice protection for one to protect another, then are you truly protecting? And when you take the emotion out of this, and that's what I did last night. I sat there and I go, I got to mentally prepare for this meeting. And I took the emotion out of it. And I put myself back in middle school. I didn't like sharing the girls' rooms with girls or older women. I didn't like that. You know, I didn't like changing anywhere. You know, and I don't think it matters who you're in there with. I think it's about protecting every student's safe space, not at the expense of others. I think that's where things kind of get lost. At least that's it. That's how I rationalize it. Because, you know, I think I'm of the same mindset, right? I don't care what people want to do with their lives. I just care that our students have a free and appropriate education with these decisions. That's all I'm here to do. I'm not here to decide it for one student or another. And then as part of that same thing, it's like, there's a lot of discussion about, not only just, what does it mean to protect that child, that student, and if our teachers don't know or our staff don't know how to individually protect our students, I think that's a much larger issue. And I say it that way because I know our teachers protect our students. I mean, I don't know that we have a policy that says if a child has a hard time with a fire drill that he gets a headset. My child got a headset. I didn't ask for it. He didn't ask for it. There was a fire drill. He was freaking out. It was ran to him. This is yours for the year. They're intuitive to these children. They know how to take care of them. They know what they're doing. So I have faith in that over any policy that we could have. So that's my position for removing it today. And hopefully we all come to an agreement and understand that that agreement and that majority rules is the majority here. But I obviously think we can do better, and I don't think that taking it away and not sending it to committee or leaving it to let it hang out there for a couple months, I don't really see an added benefit to doing that. So, who raised their hand? Was it you, Scott?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to answer Robert's question about procedure versus policy. And I think for me, it's definitely policy. It's not procedure. Procedure is outlined in Robert's rules, but it's definitely policy. And if you don't think this is a real threat, it is. Because in April, nearly 24 states banded together to file a legal brief to defend the constitutional rights of a Florida family in regards to a situation at a middle school that mimics this policy to a T. So you could probably go home and look it up. It's Leon County, Florida, Jeffrey Littlejohn. So if you want to look up an up-and-coming case, that's one that we're definitely opening ourselves up to. And I'm going to go on an emotionally driven response rant real quick, too, to piggyback off what Nicole said.
Keep it tame.
Yeah, no, I am. I'm about to have a 7th grader who participates in sports. And, she's already gone through some cyberbullying for, what do you want to call it? Body image bullying, I guess you could say. Shaming.
Mm-hmm.
So we have some diverse people here on the board. We've got a PhD. We've got, an elder of the community that's raised his own kids. We have a lifelong educator. So tell me, how am I supposed to explain to my daughter that's normal for her to have to go into a locker room and potentially expose herself to a biological male, or reverse, be exposed to that? What would you recommend I say to her? That's all.
All right, so before I was going to say, do we have anybody who hasn't spoken yet? Although I know Robbie and Christy didn't speak much, but we have Diane, Doug, and Teresa, so you both did just raise your hand. So I'm going to go ahead, Doug, and then go to Teresa, and then we'll...
Well, so this is an important issue. I didn't want it to go to the vote without having throw some sense in, or my 2 cents. Since there are constituents present, I wrote down a little preface to start this for myself, because this is a heated thing. And for the record, I volunteered to be a school board member, to be involved in my community, help the schools, students, and towns, and at the very least, get out of my own introverted shell and meet more people in the community. I did not volunteer to have to be sitting up here and dealing with these issues and having people blame me for every major social and economic issue that's ever come to be present at the unfortunate time of events that I volunteered to join this committee. So I just wish that all of the constituents that want to really enforce that we have to make this vote public so that we can have any kind of repercussions fall upon us, just please make sure that that doesn't happen, because it just makes me I am introverted. This is very challenging, extremely challenging. And I feel like every meeting I've been to since I've joined this this board, somebody in the community has blamed the board and implied individuals on the board for every problem that we're experiencing. And it's very polarizing, it's very challenging. And I feel like that's a lot of the problems with what's going on is this polarization. So that's my preface. None of these are easy decisions, and they are important. And I will honestly say that I've put 2 weeks of thought pretty much every day into everything that's gone on. So I feel like that's, again, needs to be said. Some of the things that came up that I feel like I want kind of slightly addressed or at least thought about before we make the decision is that I agree that this could be written better, and it seems like a lot of people have done good research on the things that should be changed. What I don't understand is why we didn't just change those things or allow for it to go immediately in a policy committee so that all of the research that was done for what should be changed instead of just nixing it and then saying that we'll just change it later when it sounds like a lot of good research has already been done for what changes should be done. And then from me personally, I feel like staff and students both rely on our policies for support. I remember being a teacher, when you're hit with stuff, you don't think about everything that's going to happen or that's going to walk in your classroom. Sometimes as a staff member, you go, well, what is our policy? Because I have no idea. I've never preemptively thought about what happens when I come across this particular issue. I would love to have a policy that I can at least rely on to help me guide me through this decision-making process, and at the very least not have me put any personal belief into this because I'm just following what is dictated of me. I think it's very unfair to just pull that out completely and then have staff members just have to wing it on like at the time, you know. God forbid the staff member make the wrong decision, or hopefully they make the right decision. And I think the policy is there just as much to help staff, just give them something to lean on at the bare minimum. And I'm not saying we need this policy. I do think that if it was amended to be at least a bare minimum something, so that when this issue comes up, a staff member can go, well, what is our policy on this? What should I be doing as a staff member to make sure that I'm following protocols or I'm in line? And then also, I think that it helps to have at least something for students on both sides of this. The students that are transgender or have identity concerns, to know that it's at least been thought of, or they are in the minds of the system. That's the idea, is that they're in the minds. And I know that that's probably a point of contention with some people, is that they don't want that. But I think that as knowing people and having encountered people in my educational career, I know them, and they would have appreciated just knowing that somebody, and the system especially, at least had them in mind. And I would hate to think what would happen if they didn't. The other side of the fence, the students that are dealing with these people, or dealing is a strong word, I'm not good at the moment with that. The students that are having experience, navigating their experience with transgender and all of this, I think it might help for them to at least have a policy as well, or at least a policy written in a way that at least you go, okay, this is what we're going to do. The staff are going to handle it this way. I guess that gives me some sort of idea how to at least approach it, because not everybody has an idea on how to approach these things. So it just seems to me personally that if we're going to just pull this whole thing out, it just, even with things wrong with it, pulling it out, I think it just leaves a lot of people unsure And I think that that's going to cause more problems than having something in that can hopefully be fixed in a couple of months or so, or at least modified to be a much more effective kind of support tool for the faculty and the students. Because at the end of the day, that's what I thought that our policies were supposed to. I thought that was our job as a school board member, is to make policies that support the students and support the faculty, so that everybody can have like a general track to navigate on as we go through all of these things that are occurring in life. So I just think that that's important going through, and that's my 2 cents.
May I just ask Doug 2 questions?
Okay.
So obviously you've put a lot of thought into this over the last 2 weeks. What in the current policy do you feel that it's necessary that we keep? You mentioned that it's important, there's pieces in there that you think are important to keep. So what would you keep? And second part of that question, what policy do we have in place now that would not cover something that we would miss out on if we did away with the policy? Is it what existing policy would we have to worry about not hitting a point that's located in JB?
Now, for me personally, I'm not a lawyer, and I did not look up the legal stuff with that. I think just having a policy on it shows that there's thought put into it. Just like having a policy on sexual orientation. I think that these things are important. I think the first things that come to mind just to keep would be identifying what transgender is, the basic kind of general protocols. I don't know. I would have to, again, I think that this is a policy to keep and have a good discussion about by people that have put a lot more work into it. I just don't agree with just yanking the policy completely just because we don't like all of it. And again, you guys, you did a lot of really good research on it. I don't know why we didn't vote to just modify the policy. I don't know if we could do that in the committee format that way.
Okay. But what you just mentioned is covered under ACAA, ACAA-R. The discrimination piece, and Matt even mentioned it earlier, specifically gender identity is built into those policies. So I'm asking what would we be missing out on, potentially harming a student if we didn't have this policy? And let me remind you too that without this policy, those protections are still in place. Not only that, but the resources that we have available to students, the services that we have for students, those all still remain. And everybody, all the students and staff are eligible for those resources and services, regardless if we have this policy or not.
I guess for me personally, it's just that a lot of those other ones, this particular issue gets very complicated very quickly. And I think that the level of complexity requires a little bit more of a policy, or at least its own subsection to those other policies that outline some of these things. One of the things that came to mind first was, what about an ambiguous gender? Somebody that is so ambiguous that you couldn't superficially tell what gender they were. Who then gets to decide which restroom they use? You wouldn't know. You know what I mean?
No,
yeah, I can't. And I'm only bringing this up as a discussion point. I'm not trying to.
This is a business. I do want to remind you that this
as
is
a
a business meeting, and there's not supposed to be a back and forth
Yeah.
with the public. Matt, I'm not going to call on you. I'm sorry. Teresa is patiently waiting. She's next, but then you're after
And
Diane.
We let Doug finish.
Yeah,
Yep.
and I'm just trying to think about these. It's such a complex issue. I would love for us to have a meeting with lawyers present, and then all of us could try to hammer something out, or everybody, at least all of us on the policy committee or wants to be involved in this discussion, could hammer something out that's a little bit more. I think that there's a lot of differing views in this room, and I actually think we would get a better policy with all the differing views that could try to come up. Everybody brings a different background to it, and I just still just think that pulling this whole thing away, it just seems like
So you're just saying basically that you want to just affirm somebody's beliefs, but there's not a specific policy that we have.
All right,
that
we
we're
have to
using now.
we have to stop
I'm
here,
just-
right? That now you're saying the same things like back and forth, and we are.
I
at
guess
eight-
that's because I was looking
Yeah.
for an answer.
Yeah, I don't know that Doug has an answer for you, but it was what's that show? Asked and answered. We're just gonna maybe if Doug wants to come back, if he comes up with the answers or think you've figured out your answer, we can go there. Poor Teresa has been waiting. So Teresa, you are next.
I had written down quite a few things, and a lot of it has already been discussed. I do have some issues with this policy, and I mentioned it last time. However, I really feel like I would like to see this, and as a member of the Policy and Personnel Committee, I would like to see this in the committee where we could bring in the new superintendent, the guidance counselor, district lawyer, hear from what the state is requiring, what the federal government is requiring, from actual lawyers that specialize in this, that we have on our retainer, and do our research like we had talked about doing, looking at the, can you say, Katie, which one we were looking at?
The ACAAA.
I mean, at the Durham Woodson
Yes,
sample?
thank you.
Yes.
Sample, because, I feel this one is, too liberal and too vague in areas, and the parental rights section, but I don't feel like as a whole board that we just remove it right now. I think it should go to the committee and we tap these experts who do this and hear from the boots on the ground, the Marco's been a principal. I want to hear from that standpoint. Mel, who's been working with students and is the director of guidance. Are there really concerns that we need to be addressing? If there are, how are you handling them right now? I feel like we need that information before completely removing. I think it should be revised, or the committee recommends that it removes based on these experts.
Is that it?
Yes.
Okay.
For now.
Thank you for now. Thank you. All right, now we're going to go to Diane.
Yeah, I've been toying with this for a long time, and having been an educator in the classroom, we build trust with our kids all year, and there are some things that our kids tell us that we don't want to tell parents, but we tell them.
Can you
but
talk
then-
into the mic?
I
I hate interrupting you guys to say that, though.
There are some things that the kids tell us that, in confidentiality, fearful of going home. And I know I've reported many of those in those cases. I haven't dealt a lot with this issue, and I know there were some in our district, and I know there was a lot, like in high school when they go through puberty. That's where you see a lot of this. I do have concerns with the policy. But I would like to see it, I do want to see some protections for these kids. This is our way of supporting them, whether they decide this or not. It's not always easy for these kids to go home and discuss these issues with the parents. Some parents are not accepting at all, and so we really need to think about that. And I've had to call administrators and discuss an issue with them and let them deal with it, because it is very difficult to be in that situation as an educator. As much as I want to tell the parents, sometimes kids tell us things that are scary, and it's scary. I go to bed at night sometimes. I would go to bed at night sometimes thinking, am I sending this kid home in a safe environment? We create a safe environment at school, and I think this policy gives us a little bit of safety for those kids. Yes, there are things in it I do not like, but I would like to see us fix that for our students.
Thank you, Diane. Now, Matt, you did have your hand up, but now as we enter a late stage of this, I will start asking you guys to only bring up new points, new thoughts, new opinions, or things that you want to say. But I'm going to give it one more, because there were some people who didn't necessarily talk as much. So you were going to go ahead, Nancy, or you want Matt to go? I think he's withdrawing. He's withdrawing.
Just quickly, I want to say that my concern is we have policies that cover a lot of this stuff. I think there's many different scenarios that come up, not just this particular one. And if I use bullying just as a generic topic, right? We don't want to have a policy for bullying for transgender, bullying for skin color, bullying for race, sex. We want to have a generic policy that covers bullying, and we apply it to any scenario because bullying isn't appropriate. And in this particular case, it feels like we have opened ourselves up to discriminating against kids who may not be comfortable in a transgender situation. So, and I'm specifically thinking of the locker room, as Scott was mentioning. So I feel like that issue coming into August when sports start up is enough to say, should we pull this policy for the moment and look at adjusting as quickly as we possibly can?
Okay, thank you, Nancy. Any other new comment? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to call for the vote. The vote is to remove this policy, remove policy JB. All those in favor?
Can I make a quick comment first, though?
Speaking time has been closed. No, go for it. Go for it.
If I were to vote to not remove the policy, it doesn't mean that I totally agree with the policy itself. So I want to put that out there because once we vote, people out there make comments on Facebook that are really incriminating, and I think that is one of the keys that's going to make this either smooth or not.
I want to add, I'm probably going to just abstain because
So I'm going to have to ask you why you're abstaining.
Because part of that,
you
I don't,
abstain.
it's just.
I hate to say it, but when you ran for school board, it's kind of what you open yourself up to. And you can research New York Times versus Sullivan. I mean, as a public official, you open yourself up to public scrutiny, and sometimes it's harsh and it's it's unfortunate. But we took an oath to the Constitution, as I said earlier. It's
okay.
Sorry.
And just a reminder, we're voting for the kids. We're not voting for our personal beliefs. We're voting for what we believe policy needs to be for students in RSU4. So we're not necessarily.
No, nope. we cannot have public outbursts. I'm
I
sorry.
think I think our oath is to the kids in our district. I think we need to remember that.
Our oath was to the Constitution as well.
Okay, we're going to call for the vote. There will be no further comments. Comments have been closed. All those in favor of removing policy JB, all those in favor, please raise your hands. No, set, Sam. All those opposed? All those abstaining? And I need to know why you're abstaining.
Mm-hmm.
It's a requirement.
I guess personally, I feel like I would have preferred Christie's motion to have passed, where we went through and we kind of had a discussion now about this policy, which was in place before I became a school board member. And I'm not on the policy committee, so I've never seen it. it would have been nice to have been more of a discussion and open to, especially having professionals here as a resource to try to like delve into something that's as complex as this.
Okay.
I don't think I feel right saying yes or no.
Okay. Thank you, Diane.
I'm abstaining for the same reason. I feel it should go to policy and revamp it according to what we need for our community.
Okay. Thank you. And do we have a total? And I'm going to have to call for a break after this, guys, because we're going into budget next.
It was 404 for, 357 against, and 240 abstention. So it passes.
Okay, thank you. We are going to take a 5-minute recess. Okay, thank you. Selfishly. Yeah, thank you. I was like, am I talking to you? Are you here? Thank you. All righty. Thank you. We are going to hop back into our old business. 6.2, to authorize the superintendent of schools to sign the lease between the regional school unit and Louis Olette.
So moved.
Second. I'm not related to this person.
Okay.
Oh my
So,
gosh, I didn't.
just to give.
Wait a minute, I didn't say discussion yet.
I'm just saying.
No, Christy, I'm messing with you. Discussion. Christy's not related to him. Go ahead, Katie.
All right,
Christy,
so.
are you related to this?
Okay. So because it's like negotiations, working on a contract, it's not public knowledge. I mean, we're at still preliminary stages of working with their drafted lease. Our attorney, Greg M., has been working to look at their lease and making sure it follows school things like insurance, years of lease, costs of the rent, and so forth like that. So this is just to authorize that we continue to work. I have a draft that's going to go to Roulette to look at, and so it's kind of in process. So the only way we could discuss it more is that we'd have to go in executive session, but at this time it's kind of preliminary. So we could, I wanted to tell you that. So we're working with attorney consultation. The lease has also gone to our insurance carrier to make sure that everything is covered on that end. And then obviously it will go to Mr. Roulette.
Go ahead, Matt, and then Nancy.
Sorry, just to clarify. So this is to sign into the lease, or this is to continue discussion with?
To sign.
Okay.
Nancy.
Should we be having this discussion or this vote right now, or should that come after we talk about what we need to do with the budget? Because it feels like we got the cart before the horse.
It doesn't hinge on the budget unless you reduce the transportation department considerably. We're taking current budget, proposed budget funds, and reallocating it to pay for this lease.
But those aren't approved yet. They were voted down.
Right, we live on the budget that was approved at the public meeting, and then you're right. So it delays moving the transportation department.
Doug.
This lease, if I'm remembering, is because our current contract with Sabata's Public Works, right? Is that Sabata's?
Sabata's Public Works, we don't have a contract.
Yeah,
with
we don't
them,
have a contract, but
yes.
it's not a mutual agreement anymore as far as continuing to operate through and out of there. Right?
Well,
so we needed to find a new place.
It's capacity. It's really capacity. If they had capacity, we work with them.
Yeah.
So they don't have. So let's back up. So remember that we have a bus driver that is also serves as our mechanic, right? And so right now they're working on smaller things that they can do in the parking lot, and fix. So when we have a bay, we'd have our stuff there, our tools there, and our location there. There's concern about our buses being parked there right now. There's concern about the vacant buses being parked there. And so, yes, and speaking with the board chair, with the select board chair, and speaking to Public Works, it appears that it would be advantageous even to them if we were in a different location. And it definitely would be advantageous to us, because then we would save dollars in the budget not having to pay to have our buses serviced out of town, and pay obviously higher costs.
You're next, you're next. Well, I had my hand up too, but now I lost track of. Okay. We got to do the numbers, guys. Number 2. Go ahead, Scott. I know, I'm exhausted.
I'm gonna vote no, because unless I see a lease and see what's in it, I don't want to make a decision. I've talked at length with Katie specifically regarding this, and I'm not sold on the fact that it's a net neutral on the budget and or a neutral budget item. Kind of being in transportation myself, I have a lot of questions and I'm not ready to.
Go ahead, Doug.
That was food for thought. I'm so. My question was just it was supposed to be neutral, cost neutral,
Correct.
as Scott mentioned. Net neutral was part of it, from what I'm remembering from the facilities meeting, and we got a draft of the lease in that meeting, right? And we
Well, we
rough
talked
draft,
about
rough
like
draft.
it would be 3 years, 5 years,
Yeah,
that type of thing.
kind of
Yes,
the basics.
Mhm.
And ultimately, I guess the reason for trying to expedite to some level is just to have everything ready, because we're kind of done with Sabatis Public
Mhm.
Works, and we want to try to get into the new facility sooner than later.
Correct.
So we're ready to operate right
Correct.
at the school year.
Yes. The goal would be to be in a different place probably by August 1st, so that we'd be ready to roll for the school year.
Matt.
Two things real quick. Sorry, Finance Facilities Committee meeting. If I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, I don't have those notes with me. I believe we were discussing, we had a lease, he had a lease. We were going to have both leases combined, but we haven't seen that finished product yet.
Right, that's because we're working with the rentor, right?
Right.
So the rentor hasn't seen us. So yes, if you want to wait, and it's just this person is obviously looking to lease their property.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
yes, we could get to a point that on March 25th, if you want to go in executive session, look at the lease and so forth, and then approve the signature, you could do that.
June.
June, thank you. What'd I do?
We ain't
Say
going to
September?
March.
You said March.
Mar-
You said we ain't
I always say March. It's weird.
We're all
I have a March problem, is what my problem is.
So,
But this was, I took from the finance and, go ahead, Matt.
No, I was just
You're
saying,
probably
because-
saying what I was going to say.
because this says sign the lease.
Yes.
I'm probably going to have to vote no today,
Right.
or move that we table this until the June 25th meeting.
Yeah, so let me just clarify. You know that the cost that the renter is asking is $3,500 a month. So it would be, as like Scott brought up certain things, he wrote to me when I put that out there around the lease. He asked questions and I answered those questions. So I guess if you have concerns regarding the lease, I guess I would need to hear what are the concerns for signing the lease that I sensed from the last meeting. I was given direction, yes, keep moving forward. Do you see what I'm saying?
I do. And my second point was, or question, so Sabatis had their meeting, was it last week?
Monday.
This past Monday?
Correct.
Yep. Monday night.
June 9th.
Um,
Yeah, it seems like it was a year ago.
Are you talking about the meeting they talked about this?
Yes.
Okay,
That was
no,
last-
that was 2
Oh,
weeks ago.
Yeah.
That was last week. You're right.
Yes.
You're right. You're right.
So,
the last.
and I'm not, this is in no way throwing accusations or anything out there. I received several phone calls after that meeting from people that were in attendance, and there
Right.
are concerns, questions about the relationship and why this is all happening.
So I can explain a little bit.
Well,
Maybe I can.
And let me
Yeah.
apologize too, because I did talk with Katie, but I didn't get back with you on
Okay.
that. So
I'm
Katie has met with Rick.
I want to make
the chair.
Yeah, I want to make an informed
Spoke to him.
decision. And
Spoke.
so what I heard was that a lot of this caught Sabatis by surprise. A lot of people there had no, and when I mean Sabatis, I mean Public Works, was not aware that, yeah.
It wasn't Public Works, it was the select board didn't have any idea.
Okay.
Rick had an idea.
The select board, yeah,
But
chair.
the select board, the majority of the select board didn't know.
Okay.
I heard the same thing from select board members and from community members, and I kind of feel like maybe there's an opportunity there to make a negotiation, something happen. But
So-
They don't have space for us.
Yes.
we're
Scott,
there now.
We have.
Well, I do know. I went and visit. These are examples of, I tell you facts, and you're
But
arguing
the fact
them.
is, we're there now. So how are you? Where's the space relating that we don't have space when we're there now?
They don't have the bay space for us to fix
Yeah,
our
it's different.
buses.
It's slightly different than not having the capacity. To
So
park the
Christy was next, Scott.
I
I'm
didn't
gonna
say
have
they
to
didn't have
interrupt you.
capacity for that.
So if you are more than welcome to call Rick. Right, and just reach right out to their chair. But Christy was next, so I'm going to go there. And then, Scott, you were in line after Christy, so I will see if you still have something new to offer.
My question is there a cancellation clause?
Yes, there is. Well, it's after the, we're negotiating, so if we're looking at possibly 3-year lease with at the end of the 3-year lease, we would have a 90-day, of whether you can go on to the next year.
What if after 3 months we deem that the space or whatever we're negotiating isn't meeting our needs? Do we have to pay out the entity of the contract, or?
We can go into executive session and look at the lease.
Okay. I think that would be my suggestion, just because I don't feel like I have enough information to vote yes or no.
So we do have one. We have one finalized.
We have one. No, we have one that we're going to propose.
I think we should table it till the meeting in June, the following meeting in June, so we can actually have a firm contract to go over. We know all the details involved. That, or if it comes up and it comes up sooner, we just call a special meeting and get it done then.
Okay, so any further discussion on the motion to sign? Because I'm going to say a couple things. Oh, a comment. All right, so we have a motion to sign on the floor. We can either vote on that now. Scott, you said table. Christy, you said executive session. In order to do those two things, we would need to have motions. So is there any further discussion about the motion to sign the lease? Okay. I'm biased, so I'm not going to talk. I have more information than you guys. I think it's a good way to go. I also highly recommend that if you guys, and Matt, I will call you, because you did reach out to me about a constituent. If you guys ever have any questions or concerns, talk to the select board's men, and I say yours. They're mine because I live in Sabatis, but you can call them as well. And I talk to them too. So I'm going to go ahead and call for the vote now. All those in favor? Robbie has his hand up too if he can't see it. All those opposed? All those abstaining?
Nicole, I'm abstaining because I don't feel like I have enough information.
Okay.
Same reason as Christy.
Okay. Same reason? Okay, Doug's abstained for same reason.
$369 in favor, 319 against, and 313 abstentions, so it passes.
All right, thank you.
Please trust that I wouldn't do something that would endanger the district. So I will continue to work with the attorney and work with the rentor. So if I didn't feel comfortable, I certainly wouldn't sign.
As I said, I'm not throwing out accusations. I received a number of angry phone calls, and having the opportunity to follow up on that hasn't come up.
Okay. comment section is
Call me
closed.
anytime.
Yes, and I will call you, Scott. Matt. I just always say your name, so. About that, I will call you back. Sorry, I just haven't had time. You're always in trouble.
What she said my name.
That's right. You're always the top one in trouble. All right, let's move on, right, to our 6.3, addition to our agenda. I just wrote budget discussion, so I don't have a motion on the floor. This is just to talk through what we think we're going to ask Katie to do and the team so that we can represent. Oh, look, we have some pre-work here done. Oh, all right. Excuse me.
Okay, so thank you, Samantha, for putting this together. So we're just going to go over the budget referendum timeline and then what we are proposing for possible budget reductions based on things that happened at the last public meeting. Okay, so all right. You'll see the referendum. We do have it. I think you have it, NJ. Hold on. So the referendum timeline right now is, hopefully tonight you'll give direction on where you would like it to land, and so that on the 25th you would approve the new budget, and then July 9th would be the public budget hearing. So Nicole, we'll have to reach out to Randy and say, are you free? And then July 29th would be the referendum vote. Then, so from there, we talked about, obviously what was put back on the floor was $127,838 in the maintenance budget, and I think the goal there was to flat fund that year to year. And so that was an addition made beyond what you all approved here at the board level. So to us, it's going back to the original approved budget by the board, that item. The other three items happened between when you approved the budget to today. Okay, so some of that was, remember when you approved us going into the private plan, it delays us paying into it, and that delay allows us to reduce the budget by $15,000. And then the purchase property service, that's the Siemens, which we pay. It's a service to watch whether we're coming up, whether we're meeting what they say about efficiencies, right? It's kind of watching, are we saving the money that we hope to save? And what they do in Siemens is you carry that for 3 to 5 years, and then if while you're making the savings, you don't need to have it monitored anymore because you're already seeing it. So, and that was discussed at the Finance Facilities Committee, and so that could be reduced of a $7,000 on that line. And then the grant that we had applied for the through title grants for summer funds we received, and so that was for the elementary, and so we could reduce $6,900 in that line. Okay. So that would bring the budget to $23,281,171 at a 2.85% overall. So that's down from your original approved budget. Not a lot, but it's some. And it puts down the percentage from the last approved budget. So that's where we are, and if there's more direction you'd like to give us, or a percent you'd like us to shoot for, or things that you're concerned about, this is the time.
Katie, I think that we should be reducing by the $28,900. I think we should keep the $127,838 still in the budget, as that came from the taxpayers on the floor. So I think we should only be reducing the budget by $28,900.
So you're proposing to keep that 127,838 in the budget?
Yes.
And then reduce the other three items?
Yes, which
Okay.
equals 28.9.
Yeah, okay, thank you, Christie.
What would that percentage be?
Samantha, you want to start calculating? What would the change in the percent? So the budget that failed was 3.54? I always
Yeah.
have,
Failed by 17.
yeah.
Yeah, only 9% of the population of Litchfield, Sebastian, and Wales voted.
Mhm.
You kind of raised, but then, so, if you.
Yeah, she's calculating.
She's gonna do some math and she'll, or.
Do you have the
done?
percent, new percent? Yes.
So putting that back in would put us at 3.41%. But if I may just remind
Mhm.
the board, remember when we looked at year-end expenses, you did authorize us to pay off the Siemens loan, which would open up a loan payment that is in the budget right now, which the Finance and Facilities Committee had requested that we leave those funds in, even if the loan was paid off, to pay for additional maintenance projects to help us maintain the building. So just some food for thought as you consider that. It's around 145,000.
Did everybody follow that?
I did.
didn't, but-
You said it
Okay.
was 145?
Approximately. Yeah.
Go ahead, Nancy, you were gonna say something.
I think if we go with that, I can't remember the number you gave, Christy, but I think if we go with that small of a number, we're going to create a riot. I know that it wasn't a huge number of people that came out, but it was people who actually appeared to have an opinion. And I think it's a slap in the face to cut it such a small number. And I really don't want to be doing this 3 or 4 times. So I think we really need to take what they said to heart and come back with a reasonable number.
How do we know they don't want to hire?
We won't know
Just
till our
devil's advocate here. We won't know till the next
a budget
public meeting.
Yeah.
Yep, yeah,
So
we don't.
So Sam, that
Um,
amount, are you saying would you take it out?
Would you?
Well, I think what I'm hearing though is,
I'm charged with putting the numbers together, not advising you.
Good answer.
I just wanted to raise that point because you did authorize us to pay off that loan.
so I think what she's, oh, sorry, Nicole. What she's saying is that 127,838, if you reduced it, you have that money in the payment. That's what she's saying.
Okay, thank you. So when I said it, everybody get that? Like I'm
Yeah,
losing.
I was kind of confused.
That
That's
is,
why.
that's what it would be.
Okay.
Taking that away from this bottom line still does not take that away from RSU 4 because we have that with that loan line of
Correct.
credit or something. Okay,
Can I?
go for it.
So, at the meeting we had in May, I got the impression the gentleman who added this in was concerned about maintenance and felt that we always cut in maintenance and that we shouldn't do that. Valid concern. We've spent, or I believe we were spending, a lot of undesignated funds on maintenance type projects, or at least we talked about that last week. So I think we have addressed that concern. My recommendation would be we take a cut of $301,000, $301,738, which is a total of all of these items plus the 145. I think that shows that we are taking what they're saying seriously. You look like you look confused.
Thank you, Doug.
Two.
Oh no, he said he used to.
Okay, I'll be one.
Thank you, Doug.
Okay.
I love it.
Getting back to a
I
little
thought he was saying
history,
peace.
We haven't cut the maintenance line. The taxpayers have cut the maintenance line. That's why I was at the meeting, at the budget meeting. I mean, 2 years ago, Katie, would we lose
Oh, 300,000?
almost
Yeah.
300,000 in the maintenance line? So it wasn't this board that cut the maintenance line, it was the taxpayers, and I get that. That's all right by me. So my thinking is if we take that number out and we have that number in the loan payment to save, it just makes the budget look that much better. But I'm going to say right now that I agree with Nancy, taking out a small amount isn't going to help us. I would like to see us go down to 2.75 and let the administration come back and work those numbers. And then we can decide what we want to keep or what we don't want to keep or go with. But I think 275 would be a big enough number to, I'm not going to say appease the taxpayers, but at least let them know that we're really, you know, crunching the numbers. Can we get to 275? That's what I want to know.
Okay, go ahead, Doug.
I just wanted to throw in that we did have the taxpayers actually want to increase warrant article number 4, other instruction. There was a motion on the floor that brought it up to 608, 508. So, I mean, we can't just argue that they all want it to be down.
Go ahead, Nancy.
So that motion didn't get a second, so that's one taxpayer.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's a valid argument.
So Samantha, I know we're throwing numbers at you. I apologize. So we were 2.85% with everything of the 4 items. How much more to get to the 2.75%? Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have to finish this within 8 minutes so we can do our motion and go beyond 9. Yeah.
While we're waiting, can I just say thank you to Sam for having the brain to do all of this? And
So while she's figuring this out, can I just ask a question? So
Sure.
there's 145 in the loan payment line,
Mm-hmm.
and the 127,838 was added. So if we eliminated the 127,838, we would still have the funds to be able to do this,
Correct.
plus extra.
Yes.
Does it make sense to just have the loan payment line be the 127,838 and cut the remainder?
Mm-hmm. That's another option. So she's coming on the mic. I see the mic.
Yeah. So that's just a little over 22,000 to get us down to 2.75.
That would do that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Just about.
Yeah. It was 145. Not even pretending to do math.
Nancy's hands up again.
Go ahead, Nancy.
I really think we need to go bigger. I think we need to put our best foot forward.
And
that I will stand by. I will even sacrifice the 1,738 and make it an even 300,000.
All right, so you're not thinking a percentage target. You think that we should reduce it by 300,000.
300,000.
From this 23,281 or from what?
I'm taking the possible reductions I added. I'm taking the possible reductions, adding all those together, plus the 145.
So not making the loan payment or having that loan payment to make, rather I should say.
Well, the loan payment is going to be paid. So the loan payment is still in the budget, but we don't need to
Don't
make
use
it
it.
any longer.
Right.
So
don't
I'm
make
saying remove that because we don't need that money now. And I'm saying remove all of these other items that are listed as options. And I could justify all day long the maintenance coming out because we have been smart and used some of the remaining money we had for this year to do maintenance.
So if we take it an extra 145, Sam,
301,738.
where does that put us for percentage? So a total of 301, what did you say?
738.
738.
Nancy said 300 was fine.
She said she can live without
She's
it.
saying
So
all 4 gone, plus the 145,
I said plus the 145, but you do you, and whatever, if you could do the 300,000 that she's saying, and you can just tell me, like you tell me what you want.
Exactly.
Because you're the whiz over there. I thought I was making it easier by saying adding in the
I'm doing it
145, but
without looking.
I'm probably making it worse.
So we're at about 2.2% with that.
Okay, so if we were to
2.21.
reduce,
I think that's something that we can live with. And I think that shows we're making a good effort.
thank you, Sam. And is that
Did
at
I-
the 300?
Yeah, and I want to ask,
Flat?
yeah, the 300,000 reduction. Okay.
Thank
So,
you.
and am I calculating correctly when I take everything plus the 145, we're looking for 23,262 more? No, more than that.
We'd be under the 275. It would put us there.
No, I'm at,
Yeah, we're too late
I'm
for numbers.
asking when I add up the 4 items plus 145,000 to get to the 300. It's over 300,000. Okay. I don't have my calculator, that's why I'm doing it by hand. What? Okay.
It'd
So we're
be-
over the 300,000. So that would be the cut with no other reductions to get the 2.2.
That's what I just asked
Okay.
Sam. Was it the flat 300 or did you go with the 301,738? Thank you. That's why I was trying to
Thank you.
not throw another number in the,
So-
in the mix.
Yeah, that's why I was
And that
asking
gives us that
clarification.
2.2%.
Yeah.
So based on that, thumbs up, thumbs down, how are we feeling to come back at next meeting to approve that amount? 2.2% with an additional reduction of $301,738. We're looking like we might be pretty good. Now we are unanimous.
Everybody.
Now we are unanimous. Okay.
If they want to put maintenance back in.
Yeah, they have that option.
Correct. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for struggling through that with me.
Can we sign that tonight?
I probably made it
Or
worse.
we have to come back for it?
No. We got to vote on it next.
Yeah, we didn't publish that we were going to vote.
Okay.
Yeah, that was just we were just a discussion to see what we were going to send them back to do, if they had to do more, if we were going to.
Okay.
We have to do the cost centers. We have to do a lot of work to, for you to
Yeah.
sign.
Okay. I have
9 o'clock.
almost 9 o'clock. I have 2 minutes before 9 o'clock, and I have what at least two. We got quick items. That's really going to cut down on your board comments, which.
I make a motion.
Not that I'm trying to get your votes, but it could be easy.
Make a motion, we extend the meeting past 9 o'clock to finish the agenda.
Seconded.
Moved.
Discussion?
No, go.
All those in favor? All right, unanimous. I did not want to be here till 9 o'clock tonight, but that's okay. We had really good discussion,
Because they
so
didn't make a bet of
it
what
was
time we're
good.
gonna be done by.
We are now on to
7.2.
okay. 7.2 to approve allowing the superintendent to issue contracts during the month of July and August.
Second,
Discussion.
this would be Marco.
Correct.
Yeah.
Our new superintendent. Katie's done as of June 30th. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Doug, you hear the question?
Oh.
Rob?
Unanimous. Thank you, guys. You guys are troopers. 7.3 to approve that the computation and declaration of votes dated and attached here.
So moved.
Second.
You don't have to read the whole thing.
Do I not have to read the whole thing? Like, really? Oh, why are you guys just telling me this now? We'll see you later. Discussion. All those in favor? Unanimous. All right, now that brings us to our board comments. No, we don't have committee yet. Yep, board comments. I am going to ask that if you have anything to say tonight, it is not about the agenda items that were thoroughly discussed. I got Diane. So this was just so that you had it in front of you at the time the agenda item was being read. Diane.
I'd like to say congratulations to Lily Ames, our student rep. Congratulations to her. Thank you to all our retirees. And Katie, thank you for doing that for our retirees, because I know when I retired with many other teachers, nothing was ever done. So I really appreciate that. And thank you to all the staff for all the work they've done this year, and to Sam and Katie for running RSU4 budgets and all of the numbers. Thank you.
Go ahead, Christy.
Just wanting to wish all of our teachers and staff a big congratulations on a wonderful school year. I know I had a first-year principal and a first-year teacher at Carrie Ricker this year, and it was amazing. And it was just so cool to see, especially for our first-year teacher, kind of her get the spark of teaching and really like form the relationships with the students. And my he's fifth grader now, was really emotional today when I picked him up because he was going to miss her so much. So that's just an attestament to how amazing our educators are. Also, a big congrats to our class of 2025. We wish you well in all your future endeavors.
Real quick, I just want to thank the middle school staff for putting on a fantastic 8th grade graduation. It was very memorable for the 8th graders, I think. It was very well put together. And also for putting together the 8th grade trip. That seemed to go over really well. Again, very memorable for the 8th graders.
Anything else?
Graduation was amazing.
Graduation was fun. I did not, but thank you. It was interesting. They're just like their rowdiness was so contagious and fun, and like I miss it. Miss being a kid. I only knew how well they had it. Stay young. Stay young.
Oh yeah, I wanted to welcome Rocco Mastriano to the board as well.
Yes.
That's exciting.
Yep, we wanted to do that. I remember Aspen saying that name, and we have our June 25th meeting coming up. I don't know, I probably should be saying something else about thanking somebody or something, but thank you, everybody. Thank you to the board. Thank you guys tonight. I think we had really good, open, honest, civil discussion, which was really good. I don't want you all to agree. None of us wants us all to agree. But I want, just a business meeting to come out without us being mad at each other or anything. So thank you for that. I really do appreciate that. I appreciate you being here tonight. And I guess without further ado, I will call this meeting adjourned at 9:04 p.m. Thank you. I need one signature, right? One,
the front page. We didn't get any of the other pages. We don't have any.